Hi, it's Andy Wolf here. You're taking your level 2 officials course. I'd just like to maybe help explain some of the jobs that you might like to do once you've finished your course and what those might entail. That way, when you're taking the course, you'll have maybe a position in mind and you can pay extra special attention to the aspects around those duties, and maybe you don't have to pay as much attention to the rest. But hey, so I'm only going to talk about Nancy Green, U10, U12, U14, U16 races. I'm not going to mention World Cup except to say that I've been there. I'm not going to talk about FIS races, although the only difference between a U16 race and a FIS race is age, because you have to be past U16. You have to be a U18 before you can race in a FIS race. And all FIS means is that you can have competitors from more than one country. It's an international race. That's all it means. And we have different categories of what we would refer to as FIS races, but we'll talk about that another time. So this is my ICR. You can see this is last year's version. You can see it's been around a little bit, and I have a new one for this year. I got them in July, and it's getting worn out a little bit already. In the ICR, and it's important for you to it's important of you to have one. I feel it's really important to have a rule book because they call it a rule book. They don't call it a rule PDF. Okay, and if you're working as official, you can pull one of these out and you can look at it. You can also stick your fingers in about 4 different reference places that you need to, because rules are scattered throughout the whole thing. And yeah, so I'll talk about what's in this rule book later, maybe another video. But right now, just to go over some of the positions that that you might undertake as a level 2 official. Let's start with a jury: technical delegate, chief of race, referee, start referee, and finish referee. 5 members of the jury, 3 of those get to vote. Those would be the technical delegate, the chief of race, and the referee. So when you hear people refer to the jury, that's usually who they're referring to, the top 3 guys. The other 2 are way more important than the first 3, but they just don't get to vote on things. Then let's talk about the start. At the start of the race course, you've got, of course, you've got the start referee, but you also have the starter. And before the athletes get to the starter, they've got to be organized. And then once they're in, if you're an athlete in the start gate, well, your starter is on your left probably. And down below you are a couple of people with stopwatches because they're doing the hand times. And you've got people with clipboards, and they're controlling the order of the start. So you can call them as a start controller. Sometimes the start referee does that job, but really they're just keeping order of everybody that goes on the course in the order that they do. So let's jump to the finish. Who's hanging around the finish? Well, if you've been behind the fences, you spent a lot of time at the scoreboard, I imagine. So there's somebody that's writing all the times on the scoreboard or observing the screen, but they're keeping track of the times, and they're basically, hey, if a time doesn't show up there, then they're the ones that explain, yes, we have a time. It's hidden inside the timing building, and we'll get to you eventually. But right now, trust me, we do have a time. So there's them. So we also have the finish referee, and they're there to control the finish. We have a finish controller, and again, she's doing the same thing as the start controller, writing down the numbers in the order of finish. So we have a track of the athletes as in the order that they finish, and then we also have other couple of people up by the finish line, and they're doing the hand times, and they're transcribing the hand times as well. Okay, so you've got those people. Then in the office, you've probably seen them: registration, race administrator. They're the ones that organize all the administrative aspects of the race, and they have a really hard job. They're the first to arrive and oftentimes the last to leave, especially if it's a multi-day series and they're preparing at the end of one day, they're preparing for the next day at the same time. At different places, the race administrators have different tasks, but by and large, they're there to maintain all the paperwork and all the administration around the race, making sure that all the reports that are filed in the right place and the right people have them at the right time, and that includes a second run start list. What else are here? Oh, the timing guys. Okay, ski racing is all about times. If you don't have a time, you don't have a race. So you have a chief of timing and you also have a chief of calculations. Those are two different people, because inside that timing building, you think, hey, everything's in there, it's all just timing. No, you got one guy that looks after timing, so he's managing the clock. And then there's another person who's managing the software, which is the calculation. So as the times get recorded within the timing system, they also get filled. They also fill the database of the scoring system, and that's the race software. So you might hear people talking about Dietrich. Most likely, Split Second is the manufacturer of the software that most folks use these days. So and you also have one person operating system A timing and another one in system B, because we like to make sure that we have times. So we have a system A electronic time, a system B electronic time, plus we got the hand time. So you need a lot of people just to look after all of that stuff. And normally, if you have an interest in that, that's kind of the direction that you will always go. You might take a job once in a while to get out on the hill, but if you really enjoy doing the timing, enjoy being warm, and a lot of good humor and sharp humor, timing building might be the place to be. It's an awful lot of fun in there. But they're also responsible for setting up the start wand, everything to do with the start, and also setting up all the finish eyes and making sure that's all working well. Then you have a lot of people on the hill. You've got the chief of course. And it's funny, I forgot that one on the list here. Chief of course is responsible for the preparation of the piste, the race hill, and everything to do with the physical aspects of the race. So they're responsible for snow preparation, which can spend a lot of time ahead of time getting the snow right. You have to have the snow right. They supervise the installation of all the safety and security systems, so all the B-nets, and they're also responsible for the equipment and all the course workers that are there to set up and also to maintain the piste during the race. And working on course crew, that's a lot of fun. That's what I like to do. Being the chief, of course, you're responsible for all those people, and you need to be able to close your eyes and know where everybody is that works for you on the hill, what they're doing and where they're doing it. And that's if you're good at that, that's what you want to do. That's what I always enjoyed, whether it's 8 people or when I was chief of course for the Olympic Winter Games in 2010 for the women's technical events, I had 550 course crew, and my head was pretty busy those days. Anyway, then you have the chief of gates, chief of gate judges. Chief of gate judges is a really good entry level position for racing, because one, you've been a gate judge, so you've already observed, you've already been mentored and shadowed what chief gate judge does. Chief gate judge is the babysitter of the facilitator for the gate judges. They're the ones that determine with the jury how many gate judges you're going to need for a particular race. You're also responsible for going on the course set and numbering all the gates so you know exactly how many you have, and determining where you're going to station each of your gate judges when you set them up before the race. You're also responsible for making sure that they are well prepared, that they have their gate judges cards, they've got their pencils, they've got their clipboard, they've got waterproof equipment if you have it. Some clubs have little styrofoam pads that the gate judges stand on. And then you have to distribute them on the hill and make sure they're all set up and they know their positions. And then at the end of the day, you collect cards and give them to the referee. That's what you do. That's kind of a bonus part. You don't have to do that. I mean, that's not in your job description, but that's just the way everybody does things. Because the gate judges don't actually report to you; they report to the referee. But that's the way it is. So as we're going through the course, you can think about those different types of positions and which one that you really might like to do. You're not going to be the technical delegate. That requires special training, and you have to have you really have to know your stuff. You really have to know your stuff. You have to know everything that's in here without having to look it up, because you have to make split-second decisions. One person and the chief of race. I forgot the chief of race. You can jump right in to be chief of race. That's a pretty good job, especially if you're doing it for a Nancy Green race or a U10 race. You've got a lot of new parents. They're probably all friends of yours, and it's easy to get that group together as a group, and you'd have like a little mini race organizing committee, and that's how you put on a race. You put on a race in our region. You might be doing a club race. It's, let's say Vorlage is putting on a U10 race, so you've got mostly the U10 parents that are driving that, but you also have participation from all the U10 provinces in the whole region, because most people, when they go to race, they know that the best place to watch the race is on the hill, and the best ways to participate in our sport is to participate. So that means helping out everywhere you go. I've never watched the race from the bottom of the hill except for the time I tore my knee up when I was chief of race. But the rest of the time, best place is on the hill. So there's always something to do on the hill. And I forgot, slippers. You might want to be chief of slippers. You better be a really good slipper, and you better understand the concepts around it. Otherwise, I'm going to be yelling at you like crazy. Oh, and if I yell at you, probably means you're good. Because if people aren't good, I might get, no, I don't get excited anymore. But if you're good and you want to get really good, you're worth yelling at. Okay, so don't be offended if I yell at you. I yell at everybody. I'm kind of known for that, but I haven't. Yeah. Anyway, so say my name's Andy Wolf. My telephone number is 613-220-2442. 220-2442. My email is andy@wolf with 2fs.ca. I also write a weblog, Andy Wolf's official ski racing blog. If you search Google Andy Wolf Alpine, it's going to come to, I'll be at the top of the list. And I write about ski racing officiating, but I also write about other things and tell the odd story of things that have happened to me over the years. And I go to, last year I think I was at 75, somewhere between 75 and 80 race days on hill. That's a lot, but that's what I normally do. Normally at this time of year, I'd be getting ready to on Tuesday. Tuesday of this year, normally I'd be heading out west to work on the Lake Louise World Cup, where over the years I do a lot of different stuff. The last couple of years I've been in charge of the environment and wildlife and occupational health and safety, and that's I only do that because the mountain likes it when I do it, and so does Parks Canada, because they know if I'm going to do it, people are going to listen to me and things get done. So, do I want to do that all my life? No, that's not ski racing, but somebody has to do it, so you might as well do it right, and I do it right. I ski around with a little book, Animal Tracks, and I got a Ziploc bag and a scoop and a camera. And every morning I look to see what critters have been coming around at night, and I write a report to Parks Canada, and then if somebody finds some other signs of wildlife during the daytime, I got to call on the radio. There might be 100 radio, more than 100 radios, and someone will come on. They won't tell me who it is, but I know who it is. And there's something special we need you to see up here. It's always something special. That's code for scat. So everybody sees me stick my Ziploc bag and my little book and my plastic bag, and they see me ski off, and they know exactly where I'm going, and then they know that if they see me back in the volunteer building after that, don't come near me, because I'm measuring and taking pictures and doing stuff like that. So hey, but every single volunteering in ski racing is you're never going to have more fun volunteering. It's a huge amount of fun. I took my level 2 when I was the Nancy Green lady at Vorlage, when my kids were racing Nancy Green. I didn't really know much about, I knew a lot about ski racing, but I didn't know much about being a volunteer. I'd been pretty busy up to that point. And I have friends that I made my first year of Nancy Green that are still friends, and that's been a long, long time. And my kids, the friends that they made in Nancy Green, they are still friends with. So this is a lifelong sport. You can participate in this as long as you want. I mean, I'm not going anywhere. It's too much fun. Besides, as technology advances, it doesn't seem as cold as it used to. The days are just as long, but uh, it doesn't seem as cold. And so if you see me on the hill or anytime, just come over and chat, introduce yourself, and we'll talk about ski racing. You can ask me anything you want. I'm going to know the answer. I don't have to look it up. They always have these case studies say, what rule would you look up? I'm not looking up any rule. I know the rules. Why would I? You don't see a Stanley Cup referee in the middle of the 7th game pull out his rule book and start to look up to see what you do when somebody slashes somebody else. So that's why you got to know your rule book if you ever want to be a referee in the NHL. Anyway, that's all good. I hope this helped you out. I kind of ramble when I do this, but at the end of the day, you can only watch it as much as you want. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it. It's not a mandatory part. Anyway, I got a lot of good stories, so drop by sometime.